नमस्ते सबैजनालाई न्याफ पोडकास्टको 6th एपिसोडमा सबैजनालाई स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। आजको यो एपिसोड एकदमै स्पेसल छ। हुन त हाम्रा सबै एपिसोड एकदमै स्पेसल नै हुन्छन्। आजको यो एपिसोड अलिक बढी स्पेसल लागेको छ मलाई, किन भन्दाखेरि वी हेभ थ्री रिमार्केबल young lady leaders with me here, and they are dedicated to making a life difference of the young girls. The guest of today's podcast, Shyla Adhikari. Shyla, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. Namaste sabaijanalai. Mero naam Shyla ho, and I'm a pre-med student at FAU pursuing a bachelor's degree in psychology. I am the founder and the director at the Kamakhya Health Foundation.
Okay, thank you for your introduction. And let me welcome another leader, Yuvani Bandari. Yuvani, welcome to the show.
Hi, namaste. Mero naam Yuvani ho. I'm a junior in high school at Palm Beach Central High School, and I am one of the authors at Kamakhya Health Foundation.
Thank you for your introduction. And another guest for tonight is Smarika Nepal from Kamakhya Health Foundation. Smarika, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Namaste sabaijanalai. Mero naam Smarika Nepal. I am an advisor at Kamakhya Health Foundation. I'm very happy to be here with you all and talk today about the organization.
And thank you. And this episode is sponsored by Realtor Santoshi Stapit. So if you want to buy house or sell any real estate things that you want to discuss, you can visit santoshistapitkeys.com and contact him. How are you guys feeling now?
We're doing good.
Everyone?
Mhm.
ठिक छ?
Yeah, I think so.
Yuvani, so who asked you to join this foundation?
Shyla actually texted me and Smarika both about this foundation because we actually had a conversation about a lot of these topics like a weekend before, and she knew that we would probably be interested. I filled out a form like applying myself for being an author for a book that I was writing with the organization. And I was just very inspired to join this organization because I've been hearing a lot about disparity, specifically in Nepal, for women with whenever they get their menstruation, like especially in rural communities. And that just really opened my eyes. So I just wanted to do everything I could to help.
Okay, thank you so much. First, Shyla नै सोध्छु. So Shyla, how this foundation was established?
So basically, I'm a young girl in Florida. I'm Nepali. So with those two experiences, I found an issue in our community, right? So when I was younger, when I first got my period, we didn't really discuss all of these sort of things. हाम्रो community-मा त्यति कुरा नै हुँदैन नि यस्तो चिजहरूको बारेमा, such as like menstruation, reproductive health, mental health. So there was a need for the conversations and education around these topics. When I first got my period, I didn't have a space where I would be able to talk about these topics and be educated about these topics. And the only area in my life where I received that sort of education was from school during the human development programs. However, with recent legislation that has been passed by the Florida government, they've been taking these programs away from schools, and they've been banning education on these programs. They've been banning books about these topics, and that's incredibly problematic because so many young girls and young boys deserve to be educated about their own body, about what's going on with them. When all of this education is getting stripped away, when it's getting banned, it leaves this gap and this space in the community, especially being Nepali, where, again, हाम्रो फ्यामिलीहरुमा त्यति conversation हुँदैन जति हुनुपर्ने हो यस्तो यस्तो चीजहरुको बारेमा. So I didn't receive this kind of education from my family. I received it from school. So if I didn't have that from school, I would feel completely abandoned in that place. that's why it was really important for me to be there for the other young girls in my community so that they don't feel like they don't know what's going on with themselves. They have agency over their own healthcare.
Mhm.
And I realized that it wasn't just young Nepali girls that were being affected. This affects menstruators all over South Florida, all over Florida in general, and unfortunately, all over the world. So I saw that there was a need based on my own problems and my own issues in the world. And I realized that this wasn't just an issue that I was particularly facing. There were plenty of other individuals that were impacted by it. And so I wanted to do something about it. You know, this issue is something that's very important to me, as again, I and many others I know are particularly impacted by it.
So basically, you mean that it started with the legislation that was passed and that was impacting in the girls' health.
Right. So we saw that how this legislation, it's called House Bill 1069.
Mhm.
We saw how it was negatively impacting already weak education given by schools, because the education that we primarily received in schools wasn't very in-depth. It wasn't like full coverage on the topic. It taught bare minimum and nothing more than that. So to be stripping away that sort of education from students that need it the most, it left a gap of a lack of education. It left fear in young girls. It left them confused, and it gave them a lack of agency over their own healthcare. And what it did is it shut that topic down even more and made it even more taboo than it already is, which is, again, more detrimental to communities like ours, where there isn't a lot of conversation about these topics, even though they're just medical topics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to ask this, Smarika. So what inspired you to join this foundation, especially which is working on the school girls, addressing their physical and mental health as well? So what inspired you?
Absolutely. So मेरो कथा त अलि लामो छ, but I'll try to keep it a little bit short.
Yeah.
I've been interested in women's health for a very long time now.
Mhm.
It started, I think, before the pandemic, and during the pandemic, I got an opportunity to volunteer and teach kids at Burano Country School in Nepal virtually. And through that cultural exchange, we talked a lot about a lot of different issues, mainly women's issues too as well, and that was very eye-opening. And a point that Shyla said that I think is super important as well, this idea that it's not just Nepali girls. Obviously, we bring that to the table because we are Nepali girls and that's our lived experience. So that's very important to share as well. But truly, something that I've been very passionate about in my work is this idea of the universal menstrual stigma. And this idea that it impacts us no matter where we go, that it follows the diaspora, it follows us and beyond our community too. And tackling that, researching that has been very, very pivotal to me personally. And yeah, I think that's one of the main things we're trying to accomplish through this organization. That's what inspired me to kind of be part of it. Shyla obviously has a lot of things that, she wants to accomplish with this organization. It's not just women's health, but that's the big part of it. And I think that's where I'm happy to lend my expertise in my years of work in that industry. Yeah.
Thank you
So,
so much.
oh, can I add something in real
Yeah,
quick?
sure.
One thing that I really, the one thing that's absolutely fundamental to our foundation is the fact that we're a youth-led organization. We're completely led by students because only students understand what they're truly going through, right? So
Yeah.
we want to foster an inclusive environment that champions the rights and opportunities of women and just people as a whole, right? Because when we support people that need it the most, we're supporting humankind, right? The other thing that we also try to incorporate in our foundation, like Smarika was saying, is we try to address these needs in other communities as well, not just Nepali communities, right? So
Yeah.
we try to include people from all different sorts of life, from all different ethnicities, so that their perspective can also get included and their communities can also be impacted in a positive way.
Yeah, that's a great way. And it means that you are increasing the scope of your organization.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. So, Yuvani, would you like to add anything on these things that we talked just now?
I'm just very glad to be part of this organization because like already we've done so many like good things for the community. Like we've held meetings and raised awareness for the little girls around us who need help and are looking for a guiding light, trying to figure out why their bodies are changing. And if the schools can't provide that for them, I'm very glad that I get to help provide that for them because it was very important to me. I learned so much from my human growth and development classes in
Mhm.
like when I went to elementary school, and I learned what a period was, and that was very important to me. Um, and the idea that that might be taken away from little boys and girls is very, very sad. So if we get to help just even a little bit, that's just very rewarding to us.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Silas, I would like to ask here is that so starting and continuing an organization like this, non-profit organization, is very challenging. So you are approaching people to join this organization. How easily they are saying, okay, I will join and I will contribute. How easy it is to get the other person to involve in this?
So first of all, I think it's a really good question. Second of all, I feel like it wasn't too difficult because the people that want to be involved in an organization like this, the people that want to do this kind of work, often seek out these opportunities and are often willing and more than happy to lend a hand in any way they can. So this includes not just our officers like Yuvani and Smarika. This also includes our multitude of volunteers or anyone that's supported us in any way possible, right? So for example, sharing some of our projects, buying things from us so that we can contribute that to future donations, or just donating menstrual products at our events. Like we've received a lot of support from our community, and for those individuals who want to help and want to get involved with these sort of things, they sort of come seeking out opportunities.
How many members are there now? Do
I
you?
think we have about 10 officers total, I would say,
Mhm.
roughly.
How diversify is it?
So again, we try to diversify it as much as we can, right? So we have various ethnic groups involved, right? We have people from different sort of communities, different socioeconomic backgrounds. I believe it's really important to get that sort of perspective in, especially if you want to create a culturally competent program, right? So we can talk about, the Nepali experience, what it's like being a Nepali girl, and, be there for the Nepali girls in our community, but we can't exactly talk about the experiences of women in other communities that we aren't a part of. So we try to get women from those sort of communities as well, so that they have a representation, and these individuals and these officers can recognize a need in their community in ways that we might not be able to. Just the same way that we recognize the need in the Nepali community here that they wouldn't have known about.
Okay. So could you share some details about your current projects? What kind of programs that you are implementing to support?
Right now, I'm working with two other girls on a novel, which is telling the stories of women with origins from all over the globe and their first period stories. We're still coming up with a name, but this is made to help encourage unity amongst women and to help girls all around the world feel seen in their menstrual journeys because it's becoming more and more of a taboo topic, especially in countries like Nepal and a lot of countries all over the world where people don't really want to talk about it as much. And we also wanted to shed light on the menstrual disparities in different regions and help connect women in their experiences. And all of these stories are going to be anonymous because we don't want to put any of these women on blast and have their personal information being unwillingly spread. Um, and yes, it's been a very enriching experience, and I'm having a great time with it.
Thank you.
We have another project that we also wanted to
We have a
discuss.
couple more.
Yeah, we have a couple. We're doing a lot. We're doing a lot. But we have another book that Shyla and I are working on right now. And this is essentially, it's targeted for a little bit younger of an age group. It's for younger menstruators, maybe getting their first period. And that is entitled The Period Fairy's Guide to Surviving Your First Period. And the idea for that one is kind of to be like this comprehensive survival guide that's supposed to directly combat and challenge Florida House Bill 1069, which Shyla mentioned, that is like basically a don't say period law that has severely impacted sex education in this country, which is already very lacking. And our goal also with this is to translate it into Spanish and into Nepali too, and have it be like a bilingual book so it can be a resource that we can implement in different communities to actually on the ground challenge it and have people learn about these things.
Right. So as they were saying, like one of the main reasons that we thought that these books were really important is because this legislation is also banning books surrounding these sort of topics. We need to make this kind of educational available somehow, and books are the easiest way to do it. We're trying to supplement books in local libraries, in places that are easily accessible and easily distributable, with information that's important in order to destigmatize these topics. Another project that we particularly focus on is our menstrual freedom event days. So this is like where we reach out to the public, right? And we do public event days. Our most recent one and our first one was at the Wellington Library, where our goal was to supplement education regarding your menstruation and provide resources to local communities. So me and my co-officer, Maisha, we work together. It's primarily she leads the project and I assist her in these various menstrual event days. And typically we will start by supplementing education. So either we will give a presentation or have some sort of activity where you can learn, right? Because one of our main goals is to supplement education in our local communities. And in that time, we will also foster a communicative learning environment. So we involve everyone that attends our events. That way we can all work together to create a communal learning environment. Afterwards, we will typically have an activity such as making menstrual care packages. At our first event, we were lucky enough to have such wonderful donors and volunteers, and we were able to donate almost 1,000 menstrual products to the Family Promise of Southeast Florida. And during our meeting, during our event, we made menstrual care packages, and those went towards everyone that's in need of it, right? So one menstrual care package contained a note, just like a really nice note, candy, and enough products to last a menstruator through 1 month of their cycle. So one whole cycle, let's say that. And these products went towards menstruators that need it the most, so people that are part of underserved regions or particularly impacted by recent hurricanes in the South Florida region.
Okay, so looks like you guys are working really impactful projects. So how it is difficult to approach in these sensitive topics like menstrual health? So that should be comfortable for them also, and that should be educational for them also. So you already talked that the community like these kind of things are not talked openly. So how you guys are managing and what's your experience?
So the main thing that we try to focus on is we make sure that our content, whatever content we deliver, whatever education we try to supplement, it's delivered in a tasteful and like culturally sensitive way, right? So for example, when we were trying to figure out what sort of content we were going to present, what sort of language we were going to present, we looked at our audience first, right? Because these topics are so taboo, you need to be careful with the way that you approach people with them. So you have to start people in very slowly, and then you can get on to topics that are a little more advanced, let's say, right? So we try to think of all of these things. We try to think of cultural taboos and also try to navigate around them so that we introduce the topic without completely offending anyone. So for example, during one of our first menstrual events, we had to discuss the usage of tampons, right? And again, that's also something that's extremely tabooed in many different cultures for a variety of reasons. But the thing is, it's just health. Like, it's just medicine. It's just your health. You just need to know how to use it just in case. So we try to approach the topic about tampons and other things that are taboo in a very sensitive manner. And we try to introduce it and make sure that, the young girls that attended that event knew that they don't have to use it if they don't want to, right? Like, it's completely up to them. Some people are never ready to use tampons. Like, we made sure that that was something that we touched on. And one of the main reasons we were able to do that is because of the communal learning environment. So because everyone that attended, we essentially just sat in a circle and everyone went around. We had anonymous question and answers during that event. So we had the little girls write questions that they had that they might be too scared to ask because they don't want to ask out loud. So we had a little basket with those question and answers, and then we had everyone sit in a circle, and we all took turns answering it. So sometimes the parents would also chime in. So the parents of these girls, the moms, they would chime in, they would answer, right? So we try to involve everyone, especially the parents, as much as possible. That way they also can help navigate with their child, right? Because some parents want their children to know one thing, other parents are a little more concerned about certain things. So that's why we tried to involve the parents. All of our members were there, our volunteers were also in that circle, and we were all just really involved in this communal learning setting, because it's just easier to talk about these things when it's a comfortable environment and when everyone is chiming in. The other thing that we make sure to do is make sure that our content is very intersectional. Again, like, that's why diversity is really important in our foundation. Like I said, like, I can deliver the culturally sensitive topics to Nepali communities because I know what's culturally sensitive in my community, but I can't do that to communities I'm not a part of. And that's why it's particularly important to us to have those representation, like that representation. So again, we try to focus on very culturally sensitive educational framework for these topics like mental health, menstrual health, and just women's well-being. And the overall goal is always to just supplement the lack of education in Florida schools and provide resources to those in need.
Okay, looks like you are doing really inspiring work. Okay, so we are in the 6th episode of NAF podcast, and this episode is sponsored by Realtor Santosh Stapit. So if you want to buy, sell home, you can contact him, santoshstapitkeys.com. And I would like to proceed with more questions. I have not seen and don't know exactly how your project is going on, but when you answer it, and looks like that you guys create really interesting environment, so everyone wants to be part of the program and they want to know what they are curious about. So can you share some of your experience, memorable experience in this project while running the projects? Okay.
I can go.
Mhm.
There's a lot of memorable experiences we've had. I think, like as Shyla said, building that broad coalition of people that we do have as our advisors and our people on our board, I think is super important because we're able to serve a greater number of people because of that. And at least in my experience, so obviously I'm an advisor at Kamakhya Health, so I've had a little bit of experience prior to this, so I'll talk about one of those experiences. But particularly with regards to women's health, Topadi Pratha is something that have researched extensively. And I did some field research as well, and I went to Dhangadi, Sudar Pashchim, to research this and everything. And I met with this one girl. Her name was Kabita. She was at the time, she's 1 year younger than me. So I was, I think, 19 at the time. She was 18. And I was talking to her, and I wanted to go and get a sense of, why this practice exists and, what it is that these girls are living day to day. Because it's very easy to research, from halfway around the world and not really understand the nuances of everything. But going there and talking to all these women, these matriarchs, was a very eye-opening experience. And there was this girl in particular, who I talked to her. And I was talking to her and I was asking her, will you, when you are the matriarch of your own family, will you continue this Tobadi Bratha? Like, will you continue it on and pass it on to your children? And she said no, right? Which was, very inspiring to hear, like, okay, good,
Yeah.
we're moving forward. But going there particularly, And the reason I'm so passionate about this, I realized that topadi and these things, they're kind of just a symptom of the actual disease, which is that we believe inherently that menstruation is impure in our community and in so many communities around the world, right? So this universal menstrual stigma, that's something that we have to actively combat in a lot of various ways. And so with these diverse community of people that we have created, we're able to use different kinds of language and make sure we're adequately addressing the needs of these different communities. Because like Shyla said, we can only kind of serve the people that we know and the people that we've come to like grow up with in our culture. So knowing these kinds of things and interacting with different communities in order to help as many people as possible, that's what's most important. I think Kavita is a story that, that's a Kavita that sticks with me. So, yeah.
To add on to what Smarika said, I didn't have an experience like her, but over the summer, I spent 2 weeks volunteering and shadowing doctors at Vayodhya Hospital in Kathmandu, Nepal. And I just remember I spent a lot of time in the general ward there, and there were lots of women coming and going. And I just remember every patient that we got, we had to ask them a list of questions about their medical history, their background, their information. And for women, we had to ask them about their menstrual cycles. And I just remember, even when asking them, they felt so closed off and they got shy whenever asked about it. And they were like, do we really have to answer that? Like, they didn't want to discuss the topic at all, especially if their husbands were around. And I just remember them getting a little closed off about it, and like they would get shy and they would giggle and try to deflect. And I just think that that's something that needs to change because it's such a natural bodily occurrence and there's nothing impure about it and there's nothing to be ashamed about. And that kind of just stuck with me. And also on our virtual meetings, I love seeing all the little girls like listening so intently to the presentation that Shyla's giving. And it's just such an amazing experience to be able to impact all these little girls and teach them something that they might not have known before.
I think for sure seeing like the impact that it directly has really makes a difference. Like again, I keep talking about the first menstrual meet, but that was genuinely really, really nice, especially again when we got into a circle. And what we did was each menstruator, we went around and we shared our first period experiences so that all the little girls that were there, they got comfortable talking about this sort of topic because a majority of the girls that were there were about the age of just getting your period or there was a girl who had just gotten her period. So this kind of conversation was really important for her to have. And what I particularly love the most, I'm sure you remember, Smarika, is when the moms also joined in and the daughters were always so excited to hear what their mom's first period experience was like, right? So that was like a really nice way of connecting two generations together about this sort of topic. And that's what we strive to do with these menstrual event days, right? We want that sort of connection because again, it can sort of get lost when you have someone from grown up in Nepal at a different time versus grown up here at a different time.
So have you found any attitude change after your program or after running your projects? Any person have changed their attitude towards this menstrual health, these periods, these kind of things?
I would say I don't know that there's any one case. Like I don't think this kind of work can happen overnight, but I would say that overall there has been over the years, there has been a shift towards being more accepting towards it. I think, we started in a place where, you couldn't really say it without being shut down. So to even get to a point where, NAF has invited us to this podcast and we can talk about it is a really great thing. And NAF has been very supportive throughout my journey as well, doing this kind of work. So to have more and more people interested in it and wanting to talk about it, I think that's probably the biggest indication and biggest sign that we are moving in a better direction.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but it takes conversations like these to really, push the needle forward and keep.
Yeah, NAF is always trying to inspire the youth and develop the youth leadership, and we just want to keep continue, and we just want to learn from you guys. And it is really good to work with you. I think Smarika was running one menstrual related program, and I was in Tallahassee, and the people in Tallahassee were talking about you. Okay, it's a really nice thing that our people are working on this and trying to create awareness and trying to remove this stigma. So it was really great to hear that, and I'm really happy to hear that you guys are doing impactful work and people are engaging, involving, and learning, growing, and that's really nice thing, and that really we want to see. So let's go to the other things. How supportive are your families while doing this? Because there is another important things in our culture, in our Nepali culture, that no, you should focus on your study, your grades should be excellent. भन्ने त्यस्तो खालको हुन्छ नि. How supportive is your family and how you are managing on this?
Well,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I was saying Yuvani, you start.
I'm very, very lucky. I have very, very supportive parents. And when they found out that Shyla was starting this organization, my mom actually encouraged me to join it, which I'm very grateful for because this has been an amazing opportunity. And my mom has always talked to me about like these topics and stuff. So I was very lucky to be raised in a household where this kind of stuff isn't taboo. And my parents also would like me to be well-rounded. Like obviously they want me to strive for excellence when it comes to school, but they also want me to be involved in my community and give back to the Nepali community as it's given so much to me. So they have been very, very supportive, and I'm very grateful for that.
You want to go?
You can go.
No, you can go. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I was gonna just talk about Bimal uncle. We all know Bimal uncle. He's been very supportive. My mother is the one who, she's the one who introduced me to these topics to begin with. She's always been a bit of a feminist, so she kind of told me these things very early on. But it wasn't, अहिले त अलिकति कुरा खुल्या छ, but it wasn't always so open. In the beginning, not to throw Bimal uncle under the bus, but he was a little bit hesitant. Now he's all for it though, so he, that's progress. That's progress. But yeah, in the beginning, it was a little bit more, obviously it's a cultural issue. A lot of things, it's just not things that we discuss in public settings or with our, male relatives. But, through this work and through kind of my diving headfirst into this activism about it, it's really opened a lot of doors to be more comfortable about it. And we've come like a long way. And Bimal uncle has been very supportive the whole way about it all. So yeah.
That's great. Shyla, you have anything?
Yeah, so again, like I mentioned, my family's pretty conservative about these sort of topics. And that was one of the main reasons that I found that, okay, we have an issue here and we need to figure this out, how to navigate around this situation. That being said, my parents have tried to support me in any way that they can, right? So my mom comes to the events. She constantly tries to help me as much as she can. Obviously, I'm like, no, it's okay, I got it. But another thing that we talk about a lot is how, male relatives will not get involved in taboo things like this. But I don't know if you guys know this, but my dad was actually the one that suggested the name Kamakhya for our foundation. And he told me that it was the goddess of menstruation. And that's why I thought it was a really good name to keep, right? Concerning, as all of our work primarily concerns women's health, it concerns menstruation. And I feel like that name was a really good way to tie in our culture, as well as the kind of work that we're trying to do. So again, like I thought that was a pretty big push on his part, right? Again, there is a lot of stigma still in our communities, but he tried to sort of cross that boundary and help out in whatever ways that he felt comfortable in.
Okay, good to know that your family is also changing and is supporting and you are doing and you are just keep going. So keep going गर्नलाई पनि एकदमै challenges आउँछन् हैन. Without its struggle, without challenges, there is no त्यो एकदम आनन्द पनि आउँदैन होइन ओके आई डिड रियली गुड भनेर एउटा खालको ह्याप्पिनेस हुन्छ नि त्यो अलिकति च्यालेन्जेस भएन भने पनि सायद आउँदैन होला सधैँ स्मुथ त छ भइ त रहेछ नि भन्यो भने खासै एक्साइटिङ पनि नहुन होला सो वाट आर द मेन challenges that you guys are facing while working on this foundation?
Smarika, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can. I think one of the biggest things, at least for me personally, when I think about it, like, we've done a lot of the work in the community. Obviously, the work is nowhere near done. We're still constantly fighting that fight. But with the recent state of the world and the government and the elections and the global trends and all of these things don't look very promising, and it can be very kind of defeating to know that, all of this progress that we've been fighting for can go away like that now. So that's something that's like one of the overarching challenges. But I cannot focus on the bad parts, because if I do, I would be paralyzed and feel like I can't keep pushing and moving forward. I think to do this work, you have to keep just pushing back and pushing back against the pushback. Otherwise, there's no moving forward. I think it's very easy, because this kind of work can be exhausting, like you're advocating for people who can't advocate for themselves, and that can be incredibly, you can feel very lost in that. But, it's work that has to be done, and I think it's really important in these times now more than ever to really, look in within ourselves and make sure we're all fighting this fight in the best way that we can. Yeah.
Yuvani, do you want to go?
I think Smarika pretty much has it covered.
I think I would like to add something. You basically spoke about like in general, like nationally and statewide, right? Like we're still getting pushback regarding these sort of topics like mental health, menstrual health, especially in Florida, where, like, I don't know how much, if you guys know this, but AP psychology got banned and then it got unbanned. So just knowing that those kinds of things can still happen like this, and our education can be taken away like that, is again pretty discouraging. That being said, I mostly wanted to focus on the pushback that we've received from like local community places. So for example, in some of the schools that we've tried to implement a period product drive at, it hasn't been received well in South Florida. Not really the school, but like the staff and the administration in regards to like something that has to do with menstruation. They don't feel very
Open to it.
comfortable, exactly, thank you, very comfortable about this topic. And it just made me, and before I get to my point, there was another time where I had been presenting research that I did at FAU during a symposium. It was the relationship between casteism and menstrual disparities in Nepal. And I had worked on this research and I'd presented a poster on it, and you would still have people come towards me, see that I was talking about menstruation, see that I was talking about periods, and then this one lady just took her kid away and was like, oh, you don't need to see that. And just seeing that, this is research, this is medical research, right? I'm not talking about anything, I'm telling you the facts, this is just how it is, right? And by not acknowledging this sort of thing, it doesn't mean it's not going to be there, right? But what I wanted to say is that there's still stigma present. There's still menstrual stigma present in our communities, within ourselves, within our families. And I feel like every day that we just have to continuously try to impact that stigma and fight it, right? And the best way that, again, we can start with that is reaching out to our local communities.
Yeah, talking about it is so important.
Exactly, for sure.
Yes, thank you for sharing your experience with this. And we are in the 6th episode of NAF podcast, and we are talking to the leader of Kamakhya Health Foundation. They are doing really great work, and I'm really happy to hear this. And I just want to ask some more questions about your experiences. How the listener can support Kamakhya Health Foundation? Are there any ways to volunteer, contribute, or help raise awareness? How the listener can contribute on this?
There's so many ways that anyone can contribute to Kamakhya Health. You don't have to just be a menstruator. You can be anyone. Anyone can help. Um, you can always attend our virtual meetings. They provide a lot of information and background about our project, like lots of new information about disparities and all different kinds of stuff, and they're very informational. Um, you can always contribute to our charitable drive, such as our crochet drive, which we made, some of our board members made crocheted products and are selling it to raise money for the foundation. Or our menstrual product distribution. You can always donate money to buy menstrual products or donate menstrual products, and we distribute them out to girls who are in need of them. We also have in-person meetings, as Shyla discussed earlier, with lots of volunteer options within the meetings. And these meetings provide lots of education, they're fun, and there's often lots of activities with them, and they're very uniting for our community. And of course, we always are open to donations that fund and help our organization grow, whether it be products or money or any information you have or any way you'd like to contribute. And honestly, attending any of our in-person meetings is very beneficial, especially if you have a young girl who is likely to start their menstrual cycle soon or is on their way or is already there or of any age, because this topic is so very important, and this has a strong impact on every girl's life, and the more educated they are, the better, and that's just our sole purpose. So by bringing them by, you are helping to support us a lot, and it would mean the world to us.
Anyone wants to add some more things on this, or that's all?
I think you pretty much covered everything.
As Yuvani said, there are a lot of ways that you can help Kamakhya Health Foundation, and you can help yourself as well, because involving in this kind of organization doesn't help to other people only. You can be help yourself also. You can learn from there. You can contribute, and you can be a part of it and bring the social change reforms. So we can see a lot of changes are coming, but behind that change, there are a lot of efforts are done by the people like this. So we can always help and encourage this kind of peoples who are always working and making changes. You want to add anything?
One last thing. We also have a website that has a lot of our information. It has information about all of our board members. It is davyhealth.card with two R's .co.
Okay. So davyhealth.car.co.
Co.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can visit the website, and I think you guys have the Instagram also, so you can get the information from there as well. So
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add that we're also on Facebook, which was a recent addition, but I feel like it'll encompass a lot of new members of the
Nepali community.
okay.
audience. Yeah.
So where you guys do most of your physical projects? So is that in the South Florida, or is there other places also? Like you mentioned that you guys are doing some work in the Nepal also, but basically where physically that project are conducted more, and if people wants to involve physically, where they can go.
Yeah, I think Shyla will add on to this also. But right now, for as far as I know, we're based in
Mhm.
Kamakhya Health is based in South Florida. But there are projects that we are trying to, go back and give back to the community about, like, for instance, this first period stories book and these things. We want to circulate these to students in Nepal as well, because we don't, we want to spread the wealth, we want to spread the knowledge. We don't want it to just be here. But as far as the physical activities, a lot of them are taking place in South Florida predominantly. Yeah.
That was pretty much what I was going to say. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so you guys are working on South Florida with this foundation, Kamakhya Health Foundation. So there might be some other girls or boys or parents, anyone who are listening us and they want to start. So how they can start? Where will be the starting point? The first step.
I think the first thing that everyone should do is recognize an issue, right? You don't have to look far. There's plenty. So I think the first thing is to recognize an issue and choose something that you are genuinely passionate about, right? Choosing something that's important to you, something that's relevant to you. I feel like that's very important because, again, like I said, there are a lot of issues in the world, and it's sometimes hard to get caught up in other issues that don't really concern you. And longevity wise, I don't think that's the best because, it doesn't just, since it doesn't impact you as much, it doesn't come from within your motivation to do this sort of work. So definitely recognize an issue, find a topic that you're genuinely passionate about, and find a group of people that align with your values, right? One of the main reasons that we decided to have officers and in our foundation is I alone can never do the work that we do, right? Every single member of our board, our officers, they contribute so much to the foundation, and there's no way that individually I would be able to make as much of an impact alone. And having like a supportive community around you, having people that are like-minded about this issue or about an issue that you're particularly passionate about is incredibly important.
Yep. So anyone wants to add on this, or that's pretty much everything?
That's pretty much everything.
Okay, so we are coming towards the end of the program. So what are the next steps for the Kamakhya Health Foundation?
So I'll explain a couple and then I'd like you guys to add on as well. So obviously we are South Florida based currently, right? But we hope to expand statewide, right? Maybe open up chapters in different cities, do work in different cities, right? And then hopefully this would be in the far future. We're not really thinking about expansion nationwide right now, but I would say statewide in the next couple years would be a possibility. And we, again, aim to establish this by just setting up chapters in various locations and adapting our projects, like those in South Florida, to meet the unique needs of each community. So in terms of like tangible projects and tangible progress, we aspire to donate almost 5,000 menstrual products through our monthly workshop events by the end of this year so that we can further menstrual equity. And we also hope to raise money with our various projects that we have in order to donate to a local women's shelter. In terms of the books and the projects we have about that, I'll let you two go ahead and speak about our goals and our plans for that.
So our plan for the book is to get people from all over the world to contribute to it because this crisis of mental health disparities is not just a nationwide thing, it's an international thing, and that's the way it should be discussed. So we would like for it, once it's published, we'd like to distribute it to many different countries worldwide, like Nepal included. And we think that this would just help spread our message and our word out there.
So
Yeah.
we want, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
You can go.
Oh, I was just going to mention that, right, like Yuvani said, we want to distribute the books to local schools, local libraries, community centers, anywhere that we can in order to get this education out there and in a palatable way. Well, particularly the period survival guide will be a children's book with all the information that you need as a menstruator, right, in a very palatable way for young kids to explore. And do you want to continue?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, with the children's book in particular, right, that's a very specific demographic that I think really needs our attention right now. And unfortunately, they're currently the ones that are most restricted to this. And so being really cognizant of that and really making sure that, once we get this draft finalized, get the illustration done, get it published, get it trademarked, and all of these loopholes and bureaucracy that we have to go through, once that's all done, we're very excited to really like have this have a tangible impact in various communities. And like I said, we're gonna be translating it into Spanish, into Nepali, and have it be a bilingual kind of book so people can actually engage with it. So we're very excited about that, and I cannot wait.
Okay, so one thing it might be, a negative type of question, but also I would like to ask this. So starting is a half done type of things is there. Start गर्नु नै एकदम ठुलो कुरा हो. कति मान्छेले त सोचेर मात्र बस्छन् and they never start, and that has no meaning actually. सोचेर मात्र त केही हुँदैन. त्यसको लागि त केही गर्नुपर्छ, and you guys have already done a lot of things. So my main question is that you have your different career and you are doing this also. So how you will take this parallel, or will you focus on this? How will you continue this?
So I hope to continue this foundation as I move along with my career. Because again, that's what happens when you have an issue that you're particularly passionate about, right? You genuinely want to like inspire change. You want to bring change forward. You want to see your communities progress and make this sort of change. So I aim to carry this project, this foundation throughout my career. And again, like we talked about, just expanding. Now, again, like I said, I'm a pre-medical student. So thankfully, a lot of the information and a lot of our work aligns well with what it takes to be in medicine and what it takes to be a physician. So I'm learning a lot about that through our work as well. And I feel like it's really well-rounding me in different spaces, alongside making me really well aware of what's going on medically in our communities, which in turn will hopefully make me a better physician in the future.
I mean,
Good.
nothing really comes without hard work. Like, it's given, and obviously this being a part of this organization along with school or our jobs or anything that we have it does sound like a lot of work. But I mean, if you are passionate about the subject, you're going to want to do it anyway, as Shyla said. So it's really all about balance, and obviously balancing school and all that kind of stuff with writing a book or running a foundation is going to be difficult, but difficulty and the need for our voice to be out there, our voice is much more important, and if that means we have to struggle a little bit and work extra hard, then it's 100% worth it.
Yeah, and I think for both Shyla and Yuvani, I know that they're both more so pre-med route. I am pre-law route, so there's a little bit more of a contrast there, but I still think that it's equally important. I think advancing these issues in terms of like litigation and actually fighting for the laws that are, restricting students to begin with about learning these topics and all these things is going to be very important. And now, again, more than ever, kind of to reiterate the theme that has been my entire thing, but the idea that, the people in power right now are increasingly kind of moving away from serving the marginalized and vulnerable communities. It's time for people like us to step up, step in, and fill those spaces and those power vacuums that are left to really impact these communities. There's a quote actually, or a saying in Spanish that I really like, and it's solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. So only the community, only the people can save the people, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah.
Okay. That's a very important thing, that the community people can save the community people, because other may not understand the importance of that community, their culture, their things. Because the importance of their thing can be more realized by them only.
Right.
So,
Only
and
we understand.
another important things that Yuvani said is that everything is balancing. So balancing is very, very important in life. So you balance your study, family time, movie time, or work time, volunteering time, sports time. There are a lot of things that we can do within 24 hours, but it's very important to balance them and to divide the time and allocate and to be disciplined on self. And these are the things. Okay. It was really nice talking to you guys. So before wrapping up, what message that you would like to give to the person who is listening us? So who want to go first? Okay.
Here you go. I think, for people who are looking to get involved, and I imagine the people who are listening are at least a little bit interested or a little bit concerned about the issues that are going on in our community. I think for people who are looking to, be more involved and be more active in these kinds of issues, it's really important to recognize too that there should be no shortage of people who are trying to do good in this world. I think, like there's the Kamakhya Health Foundation. I have a foundation, the Women for Nepal. There's different organizations, the PAD Project. I know Shyla's worked with Operation Period. There's the PAD Project I said, there's August, there's the Period there's so many organizations. There's so many things that if you just look into it, if you look, it doesn't even have to be about periods. If it's something that you're interested about, just getting started in any way, shape, or form, any impact you make is really, really valuable. And again, now more than ever, we really need as many people to be really keyed in onto the issues that are plaguing our communities and trying to solve them. No matter how big or small your efforts are, they're invaluable. So that would be my advice to leave with the listeners.
Yuvani?
I'd like to add on to what Smarika said because, I mean, even just donating an hour out of your day to join an online meeting or do some research about an issue that you're super passionate about, whether it be the issue that we're fighting for or an issue of your own, any of those issues, if you dedicate even a fraction of your time towards it, it helps so much. So I feel like for the listeners, you should never feel like your impact will be too small because, I mean, one vote turns into millions of votes and so many other instances. And if you contribute, you might inspire someone else to contribute. And every individual person, their impact matters. So you should just fight for what you believe in because if you don't, who else is?
Exactly. And my message is particularly towards, the young girls and the women in our community. I just want them to know that we are always there for them, right? Everything that we do is for them, right? None of this is for us. None of this is for anyone else besides the young girls in our community, right? For us, it's very important that we give these girls the support that we might not have gotten growing up, right? Something that's very important to me is seeing the young girls in my community, in the Nepali community, connected with each other, seeing the women in our community connected with each other, right? And, there's already so much adversity and there's already so many disparities for women in the world. And I feel like if we come together as a community, again, it doesn't have to be nationwide, it doesn't have to be statewide, district-wide, but even our local community right here, we can make such an impact on these girls' lives. So that's something that I definitely wanted to make sure that everyone knows is that no matter what, we are always there for you as friends, as mentors, as sisters. I think that's something that's really important.
Yep. To everyone listening, let's keep this momentum going. So if you are inspired, reach out, support, and let's make a difference together. The journey to the healthier and more empowered world starts from here. And I would like to thank you all. Thank you, Shyla, Yuvani, and Smarika for sharing your time and insights with us. I hope our listener got something from you guys, and it is really helpful and useful as well. So, did I miss
Thank you so
anything
much.
that you would like to add or anything at the last?
That's perfect.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, and thank you to all the listeners for
Yes,
giving us
thank
your
you.
time.
Done.
Yep. Thank you. And thank you. And this episode is sponsored by Realtor Santosh Stapit. So if you want to buy house or sell any real estate things that you want to discuss, you can visit santoshistapitkeys.com and contact him. So with saying this, I would also like to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening to us.